Welcome to Across the Desk and our new series in partnership with CASDA, the Canadian Autism Spectrum Disorders Alliance. This series is focused on the National Autism Strategy. We hope you'll join the conversation about how this strategy can help autistic Canadians have full and equitable access to the resources they need to live a full life. The time to have this conversation is now. Hello and welcome to Across the Desk. My name is Elizabeth Plouffe and I am your host of Across the Desk. And I'm thrilled today to continue with our CASDA-based podcast on Connect, Inform, Act, and Sustain. And today we are welcoming two guests, which is fantastic. Jon Lai, the director of CASDA, is back for a repeat performance. Won't be the last time you see Jonathan, but today we're here, and it's funny because our theme is around connecting people. And that's why we're also very thankful to welcome Neil Forrester to Across the Desk. And Neil has a really spectacular project that we are going to chat about, which connects far more people than anybody really realizes. So welcome, Neil.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I had the opportunity to attend your event, SpectrumWorks. COVID life is messing with my calendar. 2 years ago, I believe, and it was in, I want to say it was in Toronto.
Metro Hall.
Thank you. And it was a fantastic event. So tell us a little more about the main event, and then we'll jump into the history of the event.
Sure. As you mentioned, COVID sort of changed a lot for a lot of people. And in the past, the event was a live, career fair. And as you mentioned, we had it at Metro Hall here in Toronto, and we had it also in Vancouver, Calgary, and Montreal, respectively, in a live format. But obviously, due to all things COVID, we still want to stay committed to this initiative, and we just decided to pivot and take the event virtual. And the benefit of that is for many people who are unable or were unable to attend live, they can now log in virtually. And we've also had the benefit of opening this up to the entire country, not just specific urban regions. So we're very excited about the opportunity to touch the entire community across the country.
So tell us a little bit. It's happening on April 8th from 12 to 5 p.m. That's in Eastern Standard Time. So if we're talking across Canada event, what does that look like as far as all the different time zones?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. So if you're in BC, it'll be 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're in, the prairies, it'll be 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and along the same time zone. Right. So 12 to 5 Eastern time zone. And then the Atlantic provinces, it'll start at 1 o'clock or 1:30 if you're Newfoundland.
So the fantastic thing is not only are we connecting across Canada, but it adjusts for your time zone. So nobody's losing out, which is great. And you don't need to keep track of when your part of Canada jumps on. It's all the same chunk, which is amazing. So I know when I attended the event on behalf of Autism Job Club, there was a fantastic array, a variety of exhibitors. Thank you, vendors. It's been a long day. So is that still part of this virtual version?
Very much so, yes. So the way that this event's going to work is, and it's going to be hard to sort of explain it verbally, but imagine you're walking into a hall and the right-hand side will be all employers. And on the left-hand side will be all service providers from across Canada. And each employer and service provider will have their own virtual room where you will be able to go in. You will be able to see what job opportunities are available. If they're national or regional, we will have HR representatives from each company who will be there to do live virtual chats from each respective company, as well as there'll be more information about those companies. Mm-hmm. And likewise, on the service provider side, we will have people, from those different services available to speak about what their organization does. One of the key things that we found the first year we did this was there's a lot of people in the community who were not aware that there's these different organizations or service providers out there. And so we want to use this event to be able to connect people, even if it's for the first time or if it's to reconnect people.
And that's a fantastic point, because we're going to have job seekers at all levels of readiness. So whether you are new to searching for a job or you are a veteran and you've been either out searching for a job and having a tough time, or maybe you're having a career pivot and you've decided it's time to move somewhere else, this is a great opportunity and a safe way to kind of start getting into that and building those skills back up again. So As far as connecting with the employers and having those conversations, is there an opportunity to book time, or what are we looking at for that?
So just because of the volume of people we're expecting and because of the limited time that people have, in terms of a work day, candidates will have the ability to ask questions and connect virtually with all the employers. There'll not be a chance to actually book one-on-one private time, but there will be the opportunity to continue the conversation and apply for these positions offline post job fair.
Mm-hmm.
I know there was one employer and they're a large company, they're a large bank, who have been a partner of ours since the first year. And they hold 3 or 4 rounds of interviews before they finally employ people. So, I do want a lot of people to know that, there will be a conversation that will be created at the job fair, but post job fair, that's where the real opportunity comes to really start to connect directly with the employers and show them your skills.
And this is a really important distinction to make, because folks, just because this is a virtual job fair does not mean normal job interviewing rules apply. Meaning, if you're coming on virtual, you're going to need your camera on. So that means at least from the waist up. If you want to wear bunny slippers, that's up to you. But waist up, we're in, nicely attired, and you've had a shower that day and everything's looking tidy. And if you have any concerns about that, I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear my dog going bananas right now. Sorry about that. But if you have questions around, job skills and resources and whatever, I've seen on the website, are there some resources there around some job tips and things like that?
Yes, so we will be hosting for anybody that registers ahead of time before the day of, that registers for the job fair. We will be hosting a virtual webinar and tutorial to help people with some of these questions and
Fantastic.
and the things that you just mentioned. So thank you very much. We want to be able to set everybody up, or as many people up, for success as possible. And we understand that there's a lot of people, it's going to be their first time ever even interacting with an employer. So we do want to have that ability. So we are working with various service providers, like CASDA and Autism Speaks Canada, Ready, Willing, and Able, and other great partners across the country to help us with some of these webinars and the tutorial. So we will be hosting that, and all the attendees, I believe, it's on April the 5th that we'll be hosting it. But you will need to register to
take advantage of that opportunity.
To that opportunity for the webinar. We are working diligently to see what we can do virtually to provide an additional sort of resource if people want to go to it. There's so many moving parts, and transparently, it is our first year doing a virtual job fair. So trying to tack on these extra elements, we're doing our best. But there will also be a help desk set up for attendees. So if they have any questions, or they're confused, or they need answers of where to go, or other just general information, we will have a general information help desk there as well.
There's also a ton of great resources that are out there. You can check out HireTalent.ca and a few other places that offer great tips and tricks for how to improve your networking and your job searching. And this is a great opportunity to get started. And for a lot of us who've been, under lockdown with COVID, even dipping your toe in virtually is a big step. So if you decide to register, please visit the SpectrumWorks.ca and take a look to register. We're just going to wrap up Neil's part because he's got a tight stop here.
Well, I do want to say that I have a call with actually an interested employer to participate in the job fair. So
fantastic! So they keep coming.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit how this got started, because I know there's a really personal connection for you to this.
Yeah, well, the personal connection really is for my partner and co-creator of this, Xavier. It's his son Zavi, who is living with autism. And Xavier and I had been doing a lot of work helping different vulnerable communities. And he looked at me one day and said, "I want to do something autism related, in honor of my son." And by profession, I own a creative marketing agency. So companies come to us for creative ideas. And my mom had just hosted a job fair for a federal member of parliament and complained at the lack of people that showed up looking for good employment opportunities. And at the time, Ellen had just showcased a gentleman who was called the dancing barista.
Yes.
From Starbucks, who ironically ended up being somebody with autism, but from Toronto, of all places.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I can't really explain it. God or whomever, somebody above works in mysterious ways. I just felt this train of ideas pop into my head. And I was like, "Xavier, can people with autism work jobs?" He's like, "Yes, they can." I go, "Then we're doing an autism job fair." That's really how it came up. And I immersed myself in understanding, the benefits and sort of the reasons and understanding everything.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks later, we hosted our first job fair.
I was there.
And you were there. And 5 years later, here we are, a national initiative. So what I really didn't know is how important this was for the community and how big of a need it was. Like 80% unemployment rate. Like it was staggering. And it's now just become a personal mission for me to really do what we can to help the community at large. And the community has been so accepting and welcomed us with open arms that it just makes us feel appreciated and makes us feel motivated to go out and try and help as much as we can.
Well, further onto that statistic, for those of you that don't know, over 450,000 Canadians are diagnosed with autism and currently navigating that journey. And we're only in the third generation of folks on the spectrum entering the workforce and trying to gain and maintain employment. So unfortunately, the toolkits to help folks on the spectrum haven't changed since that first generation came up. And it's through events like SpectrumWorks that we're making a difference in that statistic. Only 16% of autistic Canadians who are able to work have full-time employment that are able to actually support them in some capacity. They still may need some subsidy depending on what it is. 32%, however, who have employment are actually underemployed for their skill set. We have people with PhDs and master degrees and college degrees and everything else. And it's fantastic work, but being a dancing barista, when you have a master's in math or languages or whatever that happens to be, simply because the tools haven't caught up to help you succeed in the workplace, in the work that you are trained and skilled to do. So this is an extremely important event. The fact that it's connecting across Canada is an incredible opportunity. And I know that's a focus of CASDA is opening up that conversation for Canadians, autistic and non-autistic. And it's amazing, Neil, that SpectrumWorks is able to be part of that conversation and expand it and bring more awareness for employers and the business case. You have a great document here. Why hire people with autism? So if we wrap up, your part of our podcast today, what would you say are some of the top points, like the business case, if you will, for why to hire somebody on the spectrum?
Sure. First, I want to acknowledge and thank Heather Linka from Orbital Learning out in Vancouver, who's our West Coast lead, who created this document. And we find that we're having to send this to a lot of employers who are still very green. And I'd like to give a kudos to Lowe's and Canada Post specifically, who have just created D&I divisions within their HR teams and who have asked us to give them as much resources and supports so they can be prepared for success. So I do want to just make a quick acknowledgement of her.
Fantastic.
But why hire people with autism? I mean, I'll share a funny story. There was a gentleman who participates in our job fair every year. He's got 4 people on the spectrum that work for him. He says, whenever there's a snowstorm, whenever it rains, whenever there's an accident, the only people that don't call in late, that don't call in sick, and that don't ask if they're open are his staff living with autism.
Yep.
Right? They're loyal, they're dedicated. They're not looking for a new job every 6 months to a year. Their thinking can be very outside the box. So they're very creative. I mean, we could probably spend a whole podcast on all the great inventions, that were created by people, right? Living with autism. So, I mean, there's just so many different, it's an entire different outlook. And then the level of productivity, they're like anybody else. They want purpose. Their productivity is incredible. And their commitment is just great. There's less turnover. I can't keep going on about the benefits here.
I can, because I've got your list. So I'm going to.
Well, you can keep, yeah.
I'm going to do that for just a second. So some of the remarkable strengths that can be, and this is not everybody. I want to be really clear. And I'm the parent of somebody, an adult on the spectrum. So not all of these apply to everybody, but as a general rule, you'll find these. Rule abiding, results driven, talent for detail, loyal and honest, focused concentration, perseverance and tenacity, ability to spot deviances, which is really cool. So in data, in other things, minimal assumptions or biases, heightened pattern recognition, superior problem-solving abilities, especially if it's under their special interest, and productive. So once they're on the job, they're on the job. They're not on their phone. They're not being distracted with their, buddies dropping in or whatever. Not to say that folks on the spectrum don't have friends, but they know the boundary. And friends do not come and try and hang out with them at work, which I've seen happen a few times. And the other part of the business case is that a diverse team is a stronger team, which is a really powerful statement. There are benefits to the existing team over being diverse and inclusive. There's a decrease in turnover. You can anticipate some market changes. It impacts in a positive way your financial targets. There's an improved company image and reputation, contribute to the overall improvement of a social agenda. And it diversifies a company's perspective, which is extremely true. And when you are caught in the narrow vertical of what you're doing, having that diverse perspective is extremely important to new business opportunities as well. So that is fantastic. Do you have more to add, or you have to scoot to this important meeting?
Well, I do have to scoop, but I just want to thank, CASDA, Jonathan. I reached out to him, and within no time he committed to sort of jumping on board and supporting this initiative in a much closer capacity. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank you as well for fitting me into today's podcast. People don't know the behind the scenes of it, but this was very last minute. So I greatly appreciate your support and you're getting me on here. And look, again, SpectrumWorks.ca is the website where you can go to learn more about the event. There is the link to the registration. Otherwise, you can go right to Eventbrite and just type in SpectrumWorks, and that's the registration. But look, we're eagerly anticipating April 8th. We have a few surprises in store for the day. So we urge everybody to sort of pre-register and log in, and we hope we can help some families and some people find employment for sure.
And that registration is for employers to check out the website. And if they want to participate, that's for service providers and support networks to check it out, and to register as a participant, as a candidate job seeker, and check out all the information that's there to support you on that as well.
And if I can, I'll just sort of
keep going
throughout my email address. If anybody has questions, wants to attend, employers, we're always looking for more employers. We have a great list of employers, but we can never have enough. Neil at substancecares.org. So that's my email. Feel free to reach out, and I check my emails quite often now these days. So I will get back to you right away. But yeah, listen, anybody with questions, feel free to email me.
Fantastic. So again, everybody, if you can visit SpectrumWorks.ca, this is a fantastic across Canada event called SpectrumWorks.ca, and it's an opportunity for a virtual job fair. This is for all autistic Canadians, Canadian employers, Canadian service providers. It's maple syrup all the way. And we are here to have a better conversation about that. Let's help people to understand that not only is there a good business case to hire from the autism spectrum, but if you are autistic, you are valuable, you are hireable, you are a commodity within Canada's workforce that needs to be put to work in the best way possible. And this is one of the ways you can get started on that journey in a safe way. You've got reputable organizations behind you, and we're here to help you with that. So you go make more connections, Mr. Forrester, because you've got somebody else to bring on board, I understand. Big secret.
Well, no, it's a great organization, and I think they are on board, and I don't want to jinx it, but it's a great organization that is looking to employ people based out of Ottawa. And so, another employer I think we're going to get on.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic. All right. We will talk again.
Thank you. Yes, we will. Let's stay in touch.
All right.
Okay. Talk soon.
Thank you, Neil.
Bye.
We're going to transition over, folks, as Neil makes his way to his other call. And Jonathan Lai is back on again, and he's going to continue the conversation around connecting. And tell us more, Jonathan. I am intrigued.
Yeah, so, I want to thank Neil for coming on. It was a bit last minute as we
20 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago, we said, let's get him on. And, they are, because that event's coming up, we do have a few events we're talking about around connecting. So, and over the last few months, as you probably are listening to this podcast series, we're hearing a lot, what is CASDA doing? What is CASDA up to? And really, people try to put us in a box. Now, I'm not a person that likes to be put in a box because, we gotta push our boundaries. Yeah.
Unless you're a cat, and then boxes.
Except my cat. That's what I was going to say. Paper bags or boxes. Yeah. But what, CASDA is really the place to connect, really trying to be that convener for the community. For those who want to be involved in influencing and pushing forward policy pieces that have to do with autism. That's our job. That's why we have. That's why we bring on guests like Neil. That's why we talk about the different policy areas. So I wanted to give an update because we're getting a lot of questions about the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences, CAHS. They are running a consultation right now for the National Autism Strategy. So they're not part of CASDA. They're just another organization, mainly made out of researchers who kind of run the organization. But they're going to do an assessment for autism. The federal government has said that they're going to be the place to go to. So they have a whole polling station. I guess it's called a polling station, on the website, really, to do so. So I wanted to kind of walk people through that as that's becoming available. If you are an organization, or if you represent an organization, right now there's an opportunity on that website for you to get involved. The best way, actually, this week you're going to see a newsletter from the CASDA Central, and those are free to subscribe to, where you can get that form and learn how to fill it out. But here,
CAAS?
CAHS.
Oh, sorry.
So on their website, they just put a notice, I guess it was a month ago, for organizations to have some written submissions. And on that form, there are about 20, maybe 30 questions.
I'm trying to find it so I can speak knowledgeably, but I will continue to let the smart person go.
So it's the first part is filling out the form about your organization, and then there's 3 sections to talk about. You got to rank different issues according to either the 3 sections are social inclusion, economic inclusion, or evidence-based, what they called evidence-based interventions. So those are the 3 sections that they have defined. What we have done at CASDA is create a policy compendium that matches those 3 sections.
And very cool.
We're going to give some, for each of those questions, there's a lot out there. If you're not a policy expert, you may not understand what can be submitted there. We're going to, in that policy compendium tool on CASDA's website, we're going to give step-by-step instructions about how to fill out this form. So if you're an organization this week, before April 11th, that's the deadline. You want to get that form, get on CASDA's webpage. You'll be able to find the instructions of what part you can look through the policy compendium, say on social inclusion, and figure out, what part resonates with your organization, copy and paste it, or take a bit of it and put it on to that form to submit for the government's development of the National Autism Strategy. So we're here to equip you, to connect you with the right people, with the right information to move that forward.
So if you go to the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences site as well, it is a bit of a thing to find it. So if you go to the CAHS website and then go under Our Work and go to Assessments and then Assessment on Autism, you can see the 3 groups there that Jonathan's talking about. And then I clicked on, obviously my focus is on employment with my company. For more information on the selection process, click here. So click there. And then that will take you over to the form that Jonathan's talking about. But this is neat. Like, talk about having a conversation. Yeah.
And then when you look at that form, and that's just the first form, and it's for organizations right now. They're going to have it for autistics. They're going to have it for parents. They're going to have it for the general public. They're going to have other forms. As you're filling that out, you can come to CASDA's website under Our Work. The policy compendium online tool. We have the matching sections that give you some policy advice, some ideas that you can put into that form. Pick the ones that resonate with you. We're not trying to, force anything down your throat and to say you have to say this, but here are some things that stakeholders have identified over the years, many years, that would work in terms of moving forward a national autism strategy.
And that was the intriguing thing when we had Jackie and her team on, and they were talking about research and what have you. And the interesting thing is that we do need all voices to be assessing the current policies, and including researchers. If you are a researcher and you don't agree with what's going on, this is a perfect opportunity to have a say and influence how this can be better. Nothing's going to change if we don't have these conversations and create the opportunities to have them. So this is incredible.
Yeah. And, there's a saying that, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, right? So we want to make sure
Matty Dever said that. He said,
did he say that?
Something along. So Matty Dever is, He's involved in a new CASDA project, the Canadian Journal of Autism Equity, and he's one of 10 editors who's an autistic self-advocate. And Maddie said, it's not just about having the conversation, it's making sure it's the right table so that everybody can join. And when you had suggested the theme about conversation and connecting, I'm just continuously blown away at how much effort CASDA puts into this. About having the conversation and making sure there's such a diversity of voices coming to the table. And I'm so excited because Maddie and Terry are coming back on for another podcast. We get to hear more about that.
Yeah, that's right. And it's so important to have different voices at the table because we need to highlight the gaps. There's going to be voices that are left out. We're going to find them, and people are going to tell us sometimes that you guys are missing this, and can you tell the government that you're missing this? And we'll highlight the gaps. We're really becoming that sounding board for the government. In policy speak, it's like the validator, right? So, and to see, is this going to resound with the community? And we want to accurately represent that. So having your voice in processes like this summer, there's going to be more opportunity. We're going to have some groups doing some what we call in policy, stakeholder mapping to see, here's an issue. Who do you think should be involved at the table on this issue? We want to hear from everybody to say, these are the right people, not just the right people, but the people who can represent the interest of an entire group. That way that it's informed and we're making sure that everybody's being heard. So that's,
and there's a common misconception. And I had this discussion with somebody. When we use the term stakeholder, it sounds like we are like a huge corporation with some kind of conglomerate, whatever. A stakeholder can be a parent of somebody on the spectrum, an autistic Canadian. It can be somebody who's in a service provider position. It can be a teacher. It can be a researcher. Stakeholder simply means somebody who has an interest in the conversation and needs to be addressed. So when you hear that word, it is more inclusive than it sounds. And it's still, in fact, it even points out how important you are to the conversation, because autistic Canadians have a stake in developing their future, and they have a stake in influencing this policy and development, which CASDA has made a massive priority.
Yeah, 100%. There's no, to have a strategy without the input of those who are touched by it. Impacted by it. It would not do any good to anybody, right? And we had no incentive to do otherwise. Our goal as a nonprofit is to make sure that the best representation is out there, the best evidence is out there, and move forward. And we continue to respond that way as the situation evolves.
Yeah, and that's one thing I really enjoy about the fact that CASDA, in the nicest way possible, holds a mirror up against current things and doesn't shy away from the difficult conversations, like such as the one that Jackie and her team are having. And it's really important that we don't continue to embrace the status quo, because that's how we got into this little pickle in the first place. So, we need to reduce the pickle factor in that capacity.
Yep, that's right. Another initiative I can kind of talk about right now.
Absolutely.
Lots happening in April. So as you've heard on the previous podcast, the journal is going to be launched. So there's going to be
April 6th.
Yep, that's right. There's going to be a special guest from Ottawa. I'm not going to say who, but they're going to be attending and be speaking at the launch the week after. So April 6th is the Tuesday. The week after, the following Tuesday, is our annual general meeting. And there we're going to have another guest from a different part of the country, but to talk about their vision for some of the pieces of work that are moving forward collaboratively with the whole community. So, and we'll have some updates, a year in review about CASDA, what's been going on in this year. That's open to the public. There will be some voting, and in an annual general meeting, an AGM, sometimes the dry parts, but that won't be long. So some of the the voting is always okay, a bit of the technical stuff, but sometimes you need that to keep things running, right? So we'll have some of that, some changes to the bylaws, which are actually, when you distill it down, pretty exciting changes about what's happening at CASDA, having more community members involved. So it's not just organizations, making sure we're opening CASDA up to more people. That's really what it's going to be.
More conversation, folks.
Exactly.
So, and that's come across.
It's all about convening. It's all about connecting, and that's what we're up to.
Fantastic. I think was there any other events that you wanted to cover?
No, that's pretty much everything. April's a big month. make sure you sign up on our website to hear more. There's lots happening, lots of exciting new projects coming out. I won't spoil all the details here. So sign up, and you also hear more as you continue to tune into these podcasts.
Which is fantastic. We have actually, so Jonathan and I met 2 weeks ago, and have planned out the next 3 months. And he's so funny because he's like, by the time you're done with this, you're going to be like the expert on
all things autism. That's right.
All things autism. I'm more like the jack of all trades, master of none. But the conversations we've been able to have, and the clarification and everything else we've been able to provide to sort of dispel some misunderstandings. And, there have been misunderstandings, which CASDA has addressed, that you're trying to do things to the autistic community versus the actual goal, which is for and with the autistic community. And that's one thing I have loved seeing come out of these podcasts, is such an incredible level of understanding that's ended up happening. I mean, we're getting quite a good amount of people listening to the podcast, which tells me every single person that takes a moment to listen is one more person that understands, and one more person that hopefully will end up joining the conversation, because every podcast ends with an invitation. CASDA wants to hear from you. We strongly invite you to, obviously visit the CASDA webpage so that you can learn more. But if you've got questions after listening to a podcast, please reach out to info@CASDA.ca and ask that question. There is a human being that is watching that email and wants to get you the right answer, or gets you in touch with Jonathan, who will provide you an answer.
That's right.
He's good at that. That's what he does. So we're going to wrap up today. Like I say, we do have a full calendar coming up. I believe next week we are chatting with Steve and Corey.
Steve, Corey, and Maddie are talking about the idea of information and navigating the system.
Fantastic.
So that would be, and they have a whole set of, in that policy compendium, they have a whole set of briefs about information and what that means. So it's going to be a complex topic, but they'll distill it down, and good pieces.
I'll just sit back and let them talk.
Yeah. And it's a good piece to take away, to go back to that consultation process we talked about.
That's all I'm here for, is to just help the conversation unfold. So thank you, everybody. Jonathan's going to stay on for a couple of minutes, but thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Once again, this is the CASDA podcast, and we were here today with Neil Forrester from SpectrumWorks.ca, which is coming up on April 8th. It is a virtual, inclusive job fair. We are inviting employers, service providers, and of course, autistic job candidates to visit SpectrumWorks.ca. You do need to register to attend the event, employers, service providers, and autistic candidates. It's an opportunity to network and start making those connections, which are so challenging during COVID. It can open you up to job opportunities, or at the very least, if you spend the time, I believe he was saying April 5th could be the training tool around networking and interviewing, and just those reminders of what you need to do, that even though it's online, from the waist up, nice hygiene, bunny slippers down below, that's all good. But reacquainting yourself with your resume, reacquainting yourself with your skill sets, and having those conversations. That was our theme today. And I think we've definitely done that. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will hear from us again soon. You have to say goodbye, Jonathan. You can't just nod.
Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining the conversation about the National Autism Strategy. CASDA is a comprehensive network of autistic Canadians and autism-focused organizations. Our members are united by the shared vision that a national autism strategy will create improvements in the lives of autistic people for generations to come. Please visit CASDA.ca to learn more and keep the conversation going.